So today me and my makeup artist Daniela are going to show you our signature look. We are going to do a step-by-step tutorial on how we create this glam signature smoky eye look that I use for all my photo shoots, pageants and events because it seems to match everything.
So what we do is we start off with the eyebrows. Just draw a line at the bottom of the brow. I just do it slightly into the ears and just pushing the colour back. Just following the shape of the natural brow and filling in that tail. And I'm using Benefit Brow, and I'm just getting rid of the rest of that product and piling the product on over at the tail, not bringing it too forward. It doesn't really matter what shade you draw them on for to start with because we're going to go around it with concealer and just perfect the shape. Right, and I'm taking a little bit of colour off, and then what we're going to do is I just draw hair stroke lines at the front of the brow and curve them into the brow when I get to further in. What I'll then do is just take a spoolie and brush up the front of the brow just so you get that fade and so you don't get that block effect. And just constantly going back in and filling in any patches or anywhere the colour's not paying off right, just to make sure it's fully covered. Right, and then once you've done the brow, what we do is we take a full coverage concealer, and I like to use Dermacol because it does cover anything. And then what we do is starting at the front of the brow, always lifting the point of the brow and just slowly pushing that colour and dragging it along underneath just to give you that shape that you're looking for. And what I always do is I start lower and then work my way into the brow so we're not taking too much product away and we don't have to go back in. Once I'm happy with that lower brow and that shape, I then start to drag the concealer onto the lid, going right up into the nose and making sure we've got a full coverage ready for the base for his eyeshadow. Then what I'll do is just do exactly the same but above the brow, just bringing that concealer across just to give you that sharp finish. And then dragging it down onto the tail to get the shape you need. What I do is to keep those hair strokes more defined, I actually use a fine point of the concealer and I'm just pulling it slightly into the brow, which gives you that fluffier effect. And then any parts there may have gone over with concealer, just going back in with the brow and just brushing it through. And then just to give you that base, covering the eye with concealer, making sure it's all even, there's no patches or anything, just patting that colour into it, and then what this will do is it will help it to set. So just pushing that colour in. And then what I tend to do, because they're going for more of a shoot kind of look and not really too intense, I then use a brush what's got no powder on anyway and just pressing that in and it'll just mattify that base for you. Right, so once you've perfected that base and got all that mattified, make sure it's all crease free, and then what we do is just move over to the other side and just do exactly the same. So what I'm going to do is just lift the brow, and then what I'm doing is I'm not blending or anything at the minute, I'm just packing colour on and just pushing it into the crease. And this is going to be a blown out look, so what I do is just go down into a point following the crease round. Just making sure I've got plenty of product on there and just pushing it into there. I'm just wiggling the brush from side to side, just packing that colour on. And this palette I'm using is the Beauty Bay Origin palette. It's got really warm tone browns in. So what I'm going is I'm just going in with a lighter brown, which is more of an orangey colour. And what I'm going to do is just buff that really lightly, just wiggling it around in little side movements over the line where we've put the other colour. And what this will start to do is just start to blend that out and just join those two together for you. Making sure to use plenty of product just to get that colour payoff that you need. Just lifting the brow and getting right into the crease and just slightly above. Just constantly wiggling and pushing that colour, just laying it over the top of the colour that you've already put down. And you can see it'll just start to melt the both two colours together. And just getting right into the corner, making sure we fully cover the eyelid. Just constantly packing product on so we can see those colours nice and intensely. Right, and then what we do is just go back in with the darker colour that we started, just following that shape where you originally put the colour down, just wiggling it from side to side and just blending that into the colour that we've just put on, and it just gives you that nice fade and that nice blended effect. And just pushing it into the crease. And I'm literally, with the lightest touch, just rubbing over that line just to make them melt together. Just to emphasise the lid and give it a bit of sparkle is we're going to use the Peaches and Cream pigments, and we're going to use the colour Gatsby. And in order to put that on, what we need to do is to put a base down what allows it to stick to and make it shine. And what I like to use is the NYX glitter glue. And what I'll do is I just use a really flat brush that's really pointed, and I just press that following the shape of our actual lid. So we're pushing that into the crease just to create a nice clean line, and just dragging that over, and you can actually see the glue has got a sheen to it, so you can see where you're going, just to make sure that you are perfecting that line. Just going in a little bit of a product at a time, just creating that line and making it as straight and as sharp as we possibly can. And what I do is just slightly bring it down to the side and just finish at the point where our lashes finish, so we're not taking it too far out. And then what we do is we just go in and fully cover the lid getting ready to put that pigment on there. Right, so picking up the pigment using a flat brush, I like to use a Spectrum A16 because it's really small and it's really condensed, so you can put it in the right position where you're wanting it. Just creating any movement, I'm just pressing it into that glue. And it'll give that shine and it'll create that line that you're looking for. Every time I'm going in, I'm making sure I'm lifting the brow, just so it gives us more of an eye space to pat that product onto. Right, and then what we do once the pigment down, what I like to do is just take a really dark brown and I'll start on the bottom of the lash line, just wiggling it into a lashes. Just pressing that colour into there, over the top of the pigment, just to give it more depth and create a darker smoky point on the outside of the eye. And what we're doing is just constantly pushing that colour in there and just building it up to create a darker, more smoky effect. And what I tend to do is wiggle the brush from side to side, brushing over the pigment slightly, and what that'll do is it'll give you that fade, so the pigment literally just melts into the brown. Right, so I'm just pushing that in there, just constantly building, taking a step back, moving away, just checking and making sure that colour has been put down where you're wanting it to be. What I'm going to do is, from lifting, I can see that I've lost slightly bit of colour on the outside of the eye. So I'm just going to go back in with a really light touch with that darker first colour we used and just pop that colour back in so we don't lose that blend. Just the same again from the second lightest colour we've used, just popping that colour back on there just so we're not losing that blend again. And it's really light touch, I'm literally hardly touching it. Just buffing that in there. Right, so what we're going to do now is, just so we've created this darker point at the corner of the eye, I then use a pencil brush and I brush that darker brown and push it into the lashes all the way across the lash line. This just gives it a better effect than using block eyeliner. So what we're going to do is smoke it with the eyeshadow, and I'm just creating more depth this look before we add a darker shade to give it that smoky eyeliner effect. And just pressing it into the lashes all the time. Just lifting the brow, and you can get right into the lashes so it doesn't cause any gaps when you're actually sticking the false ones on. Right, and just lifting the brow again, we're going in with a really flat brush and we're just pushing black eyeshadow, a really matte black, so it's quite dark, right into the lash line, keeping it lower than the brown that we've just put down. And what that does, just open your eyes for me, is it just gives a really smoky lash line, which will look really nice when we put the fluffy lashes on. And what we can do is just bring this black really slightly past the lashes, just so it gives that smoky effect while it blends into the brown. Then do is just go in with mascara. So we get his client to keep her eyes open but look down to the floor, and then slowly just pushing it into the lashes, being careful around the client's eye. You don't need to put too much on, it's just to give it that colour so it blends into the lashes when we stick them on. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're just ready to stick the lashes on, and knowing Apollonia, she loves a full lash. So what we're going to go in with is some really full lashes. We've just got duo glue on there, and it's a quick drying glue, so we can just go in and stick it straight on. We get the client to keep looking down. I press it into the outer corner to start with, and then we lift the eye slightly, making sure we're keeping it onto that lash line and just pushing the lashes onto the eye. just look at me. Just get your client to look at you, just to make sure that there's no gaps between the actual fake lash and her real lashes. And then what I like to do is just push it into the eye, just to make sure it is fully stuck in all the corners, and just pushing that lash slightly up. And then what I do, taking my tweezers, is just join and press her own lashes into the band of the eyelashes, so we're not getting that double lash line, and that gives you that full smoky look and blends the eyelashes into the false ones. We have used these lashes before, so they are shaped for her eye already, and they are her favourite lashes. And then what we've done, once we've stuck the lashes on, we then move on over to the next eye and just do exactly the same as we've done before. Right, so once we've done both eyes, what we do is just go in with a baby wipe, just get your client to look up, and what we're doing is just wiping all of this fallout from under her eyes, ready to put the base down. Just look right out for me. Just getting right into the corners, into the lash line, being really gentle to avoid your client's eyes watering. And just clearing that face of any pigment or any fallout. Just turn this way for me. And what we do once we get to the side is I just drag it over just to give you that line, and then what we can do is we can blend any colour that we put underneath up towards that line. It's just to give you a guideline. Right, so what we're doing now is just going in with the skin, and what I'm using is Becca Velvet Blurring Primer, and we're just going to cover the full face with that. And I'm just using a flat foundation brush just to put that on there. Making sure you get into all the creases around the side of the nose. Just being careful around the eyebrows, or take any of that colour away. Skin with the foundation, and what I'm doing is I've mixed Laura Mercier Ultra Flawless Foundation with MAC Pro Longwear Waterproof Foundation. I just like the coverage it gives when they're mixed together, and also they're both waterproof, so it just avoids any slidage or any slippage. And what we're doing is I'm using a flat Real Techniques foundation brush, and I'm literally pressing into the skin. I'm not dragging it, so I'm not moving that product around. I'm putting that product down and I'm pushing it into the skin. This will make the foundation last a lot longer and give you a more flawless and smoother finish. Just pressing it, making sure we're covering full areas, making sure you take your time and just blending that down under the chin and into the neck, just to give that perfect blend and the perfect colour match to match with the tan. And we're just going to do this all around the face, making sure we give her full coverage, making sure we get into any creases around the nose and into the hairline. And just look up for me. And then what we're doing is we're just pushing that colour underneath the eye. We don't have to go all the way up because we are going to put concealer down there. Just turn this way for me. It's exactly the same on the other side, just pushing that colour into the skin, making sure not to move it around. So making sure it's fully pushed in, and what that will do is it'll start to mattify the product as well, which will make it last a lot longer. And what tends to happen as well is it doesn't feel really heavy when you do it this way, because sometimes you can feel really cakey, like you've got loads on. And if you do it this way, you are putting plenty of product on there, but you're not leaving the client feeling cakey or like there's a layer of skin on top of hers. This makes it a lot more comfortable and a lot more wearable. We do it quite intense because it is for photo shoots and any filming that she does do. So it does need to be quite intense to make it stand out with all the cameras and all the lights. And just taking extra care when going around the eyebrows to make sure we're not covering them. And getting rid of that work that we've already done. Just constantly pressing and taking a step back and looking if there's any gaps or anywhere that's not as full coverage as others, just to put that extra product down there and make sure it's all even and flawless. Stuck in the light there, guys.
Little glitch. 700 times.
Right, so what we're going to do is just go in with the concealer, and we're using the same concealer as we used for the base. So it is Dermacol concealer in shade 208. And then what I'm doing is I'm taking the Sigma concealer brush in the F70, just getting the client to look up, and we're just pushing this right up underneath her eyes. It doesn't need to be neat, doesn't need to be tidy, because we are going to blend it all out. So what we're doing at the minute is just packing that colour on there. And then what I do is I just draw a line straight down the middle of the forehead, across the nose, and just a little bit on the chin, just to give those more highlighted areas. As Apollonia has got a darker tan, what I tend to do is with this concealer, so it doesn't leave a white finish under the eyes, just go in with a darker concealer, and what I do is I just put a few splodges just over the top of that, so it just doesn't give that white sheen when we are blending it in. Right, and then what we do is we just take a damp beauty blender. I have sprayed it with setting spray because the water is the foundation is waterproof, instead of spraying it over the skin, it will just sit there because obviously it's waterproof, it's not going to soak in, we spray it onto the beauty blender, and then what we do is we press it into the skin as we're blending that concealer out, and that just gives that extra bit of setting over that area. Pushing that product right up into the eye, just to make sure it's got full coverage there, and it gives you that highlighted effect as well. Make sure it's fully blended. Right, and then what we do is I just use RCMA no colour loose powder, because it will stop giving you any flashback and it doesn't give you that white sheen. I just take a little bit on my setting brush, just get the client to look up, and we're literally not moving, just pressing that powder underneath the eye. And what I tend to do is I just go into the corner of the eye as well, and just up side of the brow, just where the client tends to get any extra oils or anything like that. And what this does is it just gives that extra setting power, just to make sure it doesn't move.
Power. Gives me the power.
I got the power!
Oh my god.
I can't talk like that.
I have to go.
Right, and then just any areas. Sorry, we've got the giggles.
Got the power.
We've got the power. We've got the power
Do
to
you
do
mean
it.
say spray does stuff to you? Same powder.
High on setting powder. Well, is it? I look at that.
Right.
Oh, I like that Jimmy Choo one.
Let's be serious.
Right. So any areas that tend to get any extra oils, I just tend to go around with a setting brush, just pushing that product into the skin. So I go along the top lip, around the mouth, onto the chin, make sure we do the nose, into the creases, and of course making sure we do that under the eyes. With that exactly the same powder, just using a bigger brush, just dusting it and pressing it into the skin to set the rest of the face. Just pressing it all over the skin. Right, so once we've set all that skin, what we're going to do is I just use MAC Mineralised Skin Finish in Dark Tan, and I use this for the bronzer. Just going in, and what I tend to do is just start at the top of the ear, and I just push that colour into the base, and I'm slowly pulling it forward. Just constantly pressing product in, adding a little bit of at a time, and just moving forward. Starting to contour that face and give it shape. And what we do is once we've built that contour at the side of the face, we move up to the side of the brow, close to the hairline, just pushing that colour in, and it just gives more definition to the face and also warms it up a bit. Constantly taking a step back, just looking at your work, just see if there's any gaps, anything you've missed. And then what we do is just go down the side of the face, across the front of the ear, and bring that bronzer underneath the chin. Just blending that product in, just to sharpen that jawline. Is once I finish that contour, I'll just take my beauty blender that we used before, and I literally just slowly carve out underneath, and that just perfects that contour. Just face forward for me. Get your client to turn your head just to face you, just so you can see where you need to start, and just do exactly the same on this side. Just building that colour forward. no product on. Just press it underneath the eyes, and what that'll do is that'll just stop any flashback. So just same again with Beauty Blender, just going under that contour, just cutting it to make it nice and clean. Just look at me. Just making sure both sides of the face are even.
That smells nice.
Amazing, isn't it? Right, so what we're doing is just going in with blusher. We just use an angled brush, and this is Benefit Gold Rush, and it smells amazing. And it's got a slight shimmer in there, so it gives you that slight highlight as well. Right, so now what we're going to do is go in with highlighter, and I'm using Peaches and Cream, and this is Strobing Powder Halo. I just go in with a small brush, and I'm just pressing it into the top of the cheekbone, and what I do is I'll bring it down forward to be in line with her pupil. Don't bring it any more forward, I just stop where her pupil is. And then what I do is I bring it up the side of the brow to the arch, and I'm just buffing that into the skin really lightly, just to give that really highlighted and glowing effect. A bit on the cupid's bow, just emphasise the lips slightly, onto the point of the nose, and then just onto the bridge of the nose as well. Just turn this way for me, and then we're just doing exactly the same on this side of the face, just pushing that into the cheekbone, bringing it forward towards her pupil, and then just up the side of the brow towards the arch. And we're just buffing that into the skin to give it a really good glow. Just face back forward for me. We're just taking that first dark colour we used, and we use it on a pencil brush. Just get the client to look up, and I'm literally just pressing it into the lash line, just to be careful not to get any fallout. And just pushing that under the eye. What I'll do is at the side, I just drag it over, just to blend in with that top colour what we previously put on. Just packing more and more colour on there, just to make that more intense. If you do get any fallout, what I do is just use my setting brush, and I'm literally just flicking the colour away to give it a sharp finish. With Apollonia, she likes it really smoky on the outside of the eyes, so what we do is with the black eyeshadow, I'm just pressing it into the lashes, right on the outer corner of the eye, and I'm just bringing it inwards, but I don't bring it all the way in. This tends to open up the eyes more. Right, so we're just going to put the mascara on the bottom lashes, just being careful not to get it on any of the eyeshadow that we've put down there, so we don't ruin it. Right, so once we've done the mascara, what we're going to do is get the client to look up, and we're just going to add the highlight to the inner corner. I'm just going in small circular movements, just buffing that highlight in there, and it is the colour Prin from the P. Louise palette. Just the same over on the other eye, just buffing it in small circular movements, just to get that shine payoff. And then what I do, just take some clear brow gel. I'm just going to brush those brow hairs and make sure they stay in place. The same over on the other side. Right, so just moving on to the lips, we're using the Huda Beauty lip contour in the shade Trendsetter. And what I'm doing is just slowly going around the outline of the lips, taking care to make sure that we don't overline too much, but we don't make her look like she's got really thin lips. And what I do is I'm just dragging that colour upwards, just to fill the lips in and get rid of that foundation that's gone onto the lips. And just doing the same onto the top lip, just defining that shape and that cupid's bow.
Sorry guys.
Making sure they're even, and then again dragging that colour into the lips. And what we're going to do is go in with Bare Minerals Gloss in the shade Rockstar. And we're just covering the lips, make them nice and shiny. It just blends all that liner in together. Everything, make sure you're happy with everything, and this is our finished look.
Thank you for watching today guys, we hope you enjoyed it. If you want to book Daniela, here's her page above. She also does nails, she's a woman of every talent.
Bye.
Bye.